Hey guys, 5 money mistakes to avoid in your 20s, so let's get into it. Number 1 is buying a new car. So whether you buy the car in cash or in finance, this is just a huge waste of money. Take into account as well that, just owning a car and the costs of running a car, whether that be maintenance, tax, fuel, insurance, costs on average about $8,000 per year. And if, buying a new car, sometimes the interest on these things is extreme. There's car loans at like 30%. Even if you've got a cheap car loan, when you buy a new car, in the first 2 years they depreciate so much. Just when you get in that car and then it's not new anymore, that's thousands of dollars, off of the value of the car. Thousands of dollars that you could be saving. Another thing with buying these new cars and things is if you get bored after a few years. Now, buying a new car on finance and things, it actually works out better off financially if you keep the car for a very long period of time. If you're keeping the car for 10 years or something, because obviously you save money with repairs and stuff like that as well. But if you're the type of person that likes a new car every now and then, or gets bored of the same vehicle, if you pay 2 or 3 years of your car loan and then you trade that car in for a new one, you're just going to end up owing more and more money, because the debt that you owe from the first car, that will then be added on to the new loan, and that'll be even more interest to pay. So buying a new car is a huge mistake. You can buy a good car that's 3 years old, and they're practically new at that sort of age. After 3 years, there's not much sort of wear and tear there. They're in great shape, and you'll just save a huge amount of money in that first 2 or 3 years, when most of the value sort of the car depreciates the most. So think about getting a car that's about 3 years old, between 3 and 5 years old. There you'll get the best value for your money then. The car's probably depreciated, like $10,000 or something, depending on the value of the car. So you're saving money, you're saving paying that interest on the loan, and really, what is a car? A car is just something that gets you A to B. So whether you get yourself a 5-year-old Honda, used Honda, or you get yourself a new Mercedes. It has the same function. Yes, one's a bit nicer than the other one, but you've got to think about it financially. It's going to cost you a huge amount of money for not a lot of benefit. And as I said, just getting a car that's 2 or 3 years old, it's still practically new, and you'll save yourself a huge amount of money, especially when we're talking about higher end cars here, which tend to depreciate a huge amount within the first 2 or 3 years. For example, the BMW i8, if you search for those, not that I recommend getting that car, it's a huge expense, but for example, it starts at over 120,000. After 2 years, prices of used ones are around 60, so it's half price. And the similar things apply with cheaper cars as well. So avoid buying new cars and financing cars. Now, money mistake number 2 is starting a family too early and when you're not financially ready. Now, I'm a parent myself. I've got a young daughter, and I can tell you that having children is probably the biggest expense in your life. Some people say don't get a girlfriend, but I'm telling you, kids are a huge expense. It's everything adds up. On average, they say that people spend bringing up a child from when they're born to age 18, it's around $200,000, and I think that's on the lighter end. I think it'll probably cost you on average more than that. That's also not including college. If they go to college, university, that'll be even more money if you pay for that as well. So just up to 18, you're looking at 200,000 price of a house. So be aware, don't if you can try not to have children too early. Just wait a bit longer, wait till you're better off financially, because it will cost you a ton of money when they're growing as well. It's new clothes all the time. Clothes last, you know, a few months, and that, you know, they need new ones, new clothes, new shoes. There's all of the things, you know, dentist appointments, hospital bills, medicine. There, you know, it's just endless expenses. Food, if you need to pay for them to go into childcare, that's a huge expense there. So, you know, wait until a bit later in life to have kids, until you're, you know, fairly stable financially. That's the best option. And of course, you know, not having too many children that you can't really afford it, you know. As I said, one kid is 200,000 alone. So imagine 5, you know, you're looking at $1 million to bring up 5 children, you know, and it's other things as well, you know, they just occupy a lot of your time. Obviously, you know, it's great to have children, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but, you know, if you've got a lot of work to do, if you work from home, if you've got your own business, you know, just take into account that you're probably going to lose money, you know, your earnings are going to decrease because you're just not going to have the same amount of time to put into those things when you've got children. So, you know, considering, you know, putting it off a little bit longer until you're in a better situation, you know, better financially. So number 3 is not saving an emergency fund. Now this is important because we never know what's going to happen in life, especially if you are in the United States, where you know, typically health insurance is very expensive and things like that, and a hospital trip, if you don't have insurance, just, you know, half an hour in an ambulance taking you to the hospital, that they put like $800 on that, you know, it's ridiculous. And it can be something, you know, you just broken your arm. I mean, I've read various things on Reddit about this, people that are, you know, they've broken their leg, and, you know, they have to, you know, get to the hospital themselves, you know, driving with one leg because they haven't got the money to pay for an ambulance. So having an emergency fund, it just covers you in case the worst happens. If your car breaks down and you've got no money left, how are you going to repair it? You know, your option really is to borrow money and go into debt. So if you've got a little bit saved, you know, if you've got, you know, $2,000 for example, just there, then that will cover, you know, most sort of expenses that may pop up, you know, unexpectedly. If, for example, you're renting and your landlord says, you know, I'm going to sell the place, you need to move, then, you know, that's again another unexpected expense. You need to pay for the removals and things, for those, for the vehicles. You know, you'll need the deposit for the next place, you know, a couple of months up front. So just having an emergency fund saved, you know, that's very important. It's a huge mistake, you know, not to have that money saved. Number 4 is paying off the wrong kind of debt. So let's take a typical example. If you are, if you've got credit card debt and you've got student loan debt. Now, student loan debts are typically 4 to 8%, I believe, in the United States. Credit card debts can be, you know, 15, 20, and if you've got bad credit, they can be even higher, you know, 30% or more. So even if the credit card debt's a smaller amount, it's more important to pay off the credit card debt first, just so you're paying off, you know, the debt that's got the most interest. Now, the best option is, say if you've got £4,000 on a credit card and it's 20% interest, get yourself a new credit card that 0% balance transfers and 0% interest for, you know, 6 months or longer. There's some that are up to 18 months. Transfer all of that debt so you've got no interest to pay, and focus on paying that down as fast as possible. You know, student debts which are lower interest, that can wait. But then once you've paid that credit card debt off, then the next thing should be working on the next debt. You don't just want to leave these things to accumulate or pay the minimum payment, because over time it will just, you know, snowball out of control and you end up with even more and more debt. If you just pay the minimum payments, for example, on a large student loan, you're probably not even paying off the interest, so you won't even be paying off any of the money that you owe. So, you know, focus on the high interest loans first, get those out of the way, and then start paying off the others. So number 5 of the money mistakes in your 20s to avoid is, and this is a big one, weddings. So wedding debt. I know that, I've personally got married myself. I had a wedding, but they say on average weddings cost you about $30,000. That's a deposit for a house right there. So it's a huge amount of debt to take on for one day. Yeah, buying wedding dress and things you put it once in your life, and many of these cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Suits as well, thousands, like catering for hundreds of people. So much money it's going to cost you. And you have to look at the benefits really in terms of this. In the UK, for example, there are tax benefits to being married. You pay slightly less tax, so that could be, a positive for this. But in general, avoid getting married. At least avoid spending $30,000 or more on one day. It's a huge mistake to spend so much money. Imagine what if you could just down payment on a house straight away. I mean, surely that's the better option than getting married. You can get married legally, cheaply, if that's what's important. But normally it's the big parties and sort of the religious side of weddings which ends up costing you a huge amount of money. So either consider doing it on a budget, or just don't get married. Obviously it depends. For each person, things are different. You might be very religious, it might be very important to you to get married, but just trying to cut in costs on that. Perhaps not invite as many guests, just the people closest to you. Try and save a bit of money there, because it is only one day, and it can really damage you financially. I mean, $30,000 could have earned you a lot of money invested. It could have saved you a lot of money if you'd have bought a property with that, or you could have used that as a down payment to buy a property to rent out, which could even earn you quite a lot of money. So it's a real financial mistake, and it's one that I really suggest you try and avoid. So thanks for watching the video, guys. Give the video a like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.